So she said she also deals with some asthma and allergies. What's going on there?
She's allergic to her cat. She knows, but she doesn't care.
Can we do any healing to those allergies? Are you able to do that for her to help her with that?
We can try, but they have a very unique relationship. He has to lay on top of her to do his job of healing her. Um, so she can't avoid um, she can't avoid the hair. It's it comes with the package. He's here for a specific purpose, and he lays across her stomach to help heal her.
Okay, so tell her a little bit more about Ginger's purpose in her life.
It's a soul connection. Her animals were meant to be her her human children, but since she chose not to have children in this incarnation, they came in the form of her animals.
Very good. And so Ginger is healing her.
Yes, he came here to help heal her physical ailments as well as some of her um, spiritual aspects that she was trying to develop in this lifetime. Telepathy being one of them.
So does she speak with him telepathically? And if so, does she realize she's doing it?
No, she doesn't realize she's doing it. She tried intentionally to do it, and it worked for her briefly, but she pulled back. So that ability is there should she choose to develop it further in the future.
Hmm. Very good. And she was wondering, she wanted to know how old he is.
12.
Very good. And he's been experiencing some health problems lately with hypothyroidism. What's going on with that?
He's vibrating so high that it's hard to be constricted in a body.
So what can she do to help him with that?
She needs to give him energy healing to help calm him down.
And what's the
When she
best way?
tries, she just needs to lay hands on him. She can use whichever tool she chooses. She likes Reiki and does that, but it's merely all energy healing is the intention. You don't need a label. So she just needs to place her hands on him with the intent of um, healing and envisioning white light coming through. He feels it, which is why it's very strong for him. He jumps away as soon as she starts.
So she also has noticed a little bit of bleeding. Is that anything she needs to be concerned about?
It is concerning. Um, the right doctor will be able to fix him.
Okay. Can she be guided to the right doctor?
She found the right doctor.
Okay. So can we send Ginger some healing energy today? Would that be appropriate?
Yes.
Okay. So just allowing yourself to connect heart to heart with Ginger and just sending him all of the beautiful healing frequency that he needs, not too much, just enough, so that his body can acclimate and he can feel more comfortable in his body. And is there a message that Ginger would like to bring forward today?
He just said, "I love you, mommy." So cute.
Very
He's a very bright soul,
good.
very bright, um, very pure, very close to source.
So would he be, because we hear some animals are group consciousness, but some are actual individual souls. Would that be what Ginger would be considered?
Yes, he's an individual soul.
Okay, so has he ever been in human form before?
No,
Or other forms, not as an animal?
other forms, but he's never been human.
Okay.
And she is curious about her deceased dogs.
Mhm.
And yes, they were all individual consciousness as well.
Oh, nice. And
She chose to have those specific spirits, uh, souls come to her because they were meant to be her human children.
beautiful. Is that something that she planned prior to this incarnation?
Yes, she
Okay.
chose not to have children in this life.
Okay.
She
Very
wanted the
good.
connection with the animals.
It's a nice connection to have.
It is.
Very good. Anything else that she needs to know about Ginger to help him just live his best life?
Sing to him. He wants to be sung to.
Okay. Anything in particular that he likes or?
That's so strange. Um, no, I guess as a soul, he likes music,
Mm.
um, and he likes the sound of her voice. So
Oh,
perhaps combining those two would bring him comfort.
oh, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for that information.
Thank
I know that will be helpful.
you. Mhm.
So the allergies may can be helped. Is there any medication that will help her with the asthma or anything that she needs to know about that? Is that the asthma is that related to Ginger as well?
Yes,
Okay.
it's all connected. She will be working with a homeopath to help her,
Hmm.
and that will help reduce the symptoms of
Okay.
the allergies and asthma. But once Ginger has crossed over, she won't have the allergies and asthma anymore.
Okay. All right. So she also said she noticed she's had some chemical sensitivity and some limbic impairment. What's happening there?
The limbic impairment for her started with a head injury she had years ago.
Hmm.
That started it, and then exposure to toxic chemicals is what made her sensitive to them. Um,
Okay. When she was doing the
hit
artwork.
Yes,
Hmm.
and in living environment and
Okay.
just being around other people who use harsh chemicals in their environment and on their person.
Okay. So can that be healed for her today so that she doesn't experience so much sensitivity?
Yes and no.
Okay.
This soul has physical ailments that she came here to experience. So
Mm,
she's constantly looking for ways to um, resolve them without having to go through the process of physically healing them. So, yes, we can relieve the severity of her sensitivity to chemicals, but she has to go through the steps to help herself as well, because that's what she chose to come here to do.
okay. So sometimes we pick these things to help us
Yes,
learn how to use our healing abilities.
yes.
Okay.
And it's also to share with others. Um, Over time, she will meet people who have had a similar issue, and she can say, "Oh, I did this and this helped," and they would not have heard of that particular method, and they will seek that out, and that's a way for her to help others.
Okay. Very good. And so the head injury, can we take a look at that and see if that's anything that needs any healing energy today? Anything that needs to
Yes.
be repaired in that area?
Yes, we can work on her physical head, as well as some negative thoughts that were going through her mind at the time of the injury.
Hmm. Okay. So just release those.
Yes.
Okay. And let's bring in a healing energy in that area. What color would you like to use?
Yellow orange.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. So just bringing in that beautiful combination of yellow and orange, just allowing those high frequency energies to flow into that space where she received that head injury, just repairing all of the damage that may have remained after that injury took place. Just flowing those high frequency energies in through that area and allowing them to expand out and around the head. And so she took a PCR swab test, and she said she felt like after the test something just wasn't right. She wants to know, were there any toxins in that test?
Minimal toxins, not the terrible things that she fears.
Mm-hmm.
And she can detox them out of her body. It'll be gentle and they will leave.
What's the best way for her to do that?
She can do it with her diet. She can do it with movement. And she can do it with the power of her mind. Setting not an intention, but moving her focus from the fear to the positive.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one other thing we need to say about her head injury. It
Yes.
also triggered the opening of her crown chakra. So it wasn't all bad.
Oh, so she needed to have that experience to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Very good.
That was the triggering event that brought Tyler back into her life.
Okay. It was that the purpose of it? The purpose of that experience to bring him back? Or it just
Not
happened?
necessarily. It happened
Mm-hmm.
when her crown chakra opened. It started to change her vibration, and it triggered something in him as well.
Mm-hmm.
He injured himself, not in the same capacity, but they both had a simultaneous injury, and that's what led them on the path back to one another.
So it sounds like they're very strongly energetically connected. Is this what they're going to experience throughout the duration of their life?
They will experience this no matter if it's this life or any other lifetime. It's just what their souls choose.
Okay.
Their souls don't want to be apart.
Okay. So I know we asked earlier, I'm not sure if you gave the information, but would this be a twin flame, what we consider to be a twin flame? I'm not sure if we understand that connection as well as we
Um,
should.
as a human would call it a twin flame connection, they can give themselves the label if they choose.
Okay.
But twin flames are an energy, and it's misguided to believe that it is that twin flames are one soul that
Yes.
have been split in half,
Mm-hmm.
um, because that implies that you're incomplete, and you're always complete and whole. Some souls choose very early on, from that first spark off of leaving source,
Mm-hmm.
they choose to incarnate together after having a powerful experience.
Okay.
Are we making sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. So these are just two souls that had a strong connection that have chosen to incarnate in different lifetimes for the purpose of growth.
That is correct.
Okay. Very good. Okay. So one more thing about the PCR swab test is she felt like she lost her connection to her higher self. What does she need to know about that?
There are some toxins that affected the pineal gland, and that's the nefarious intent behind those chemicals. Those who are using this as a weapon want to sever a soul's connection with their creator because that makes them easier to control and manipulate. Um, but what the human soul needs to understand is that there's a way around that. And you can heal your physical body. And by healing your physical body, you reestablish that connection with the divine.
So, I've had clients who have been concerned about also getting the test, equally as concerned about the medication that's being used to potentially treat. Does that also have a nefarious purpose behind it?
Absolutely.
And
Our
is it to
advice,
sever that connection for
yes, that
sending
is,
consciousness?
yes, that is the ultimate goal of this regime, is to sever man and woman's connection with their creator. As soon as that connection has been severed, they can control them. It's just like when we explain what incarnation is like and how painful it is for a soul to be disconnected from our creator. Um, that's exactly the intention. They want to magnify that agony that a soul feels. Humans feel it more intently on the earthly plane than we do on our side.
So, for those who have taken the medication, does that permanently disconnect them from their path of ascension, or are there
In this
ways of getting around that?
um, in this physical life, if they choose, it's a choice. If they choose to receive that medication
Mhm.
and they choose to disconnect, because it's always a choice on some level, whether they're aware of it consciously or not, then that's their path and there's no going back. At the soul level, they will always continue to ascend, but it will not happen during the course of their physical life on earth. If someone takes it and they have the awareness that the intention behind the medication is negative, they can remedy that by healing their body. It's People need to realize that you're a human having a human experience, and we can't forget the body. It's very important to keep your body in the best possible health. That's not to be frightened of the human body getting sick or having ailments. There's a reason why people say your body is your temple, because you have to keep it functioning properly in order to have a very strong connection with the divine.
So, most of us that are on the awakened path and understanding this shift that we're going through, we have many, if not most, of the people around us that have chosen to get the medication. Is there a way that we can assist with healing, or does that have to be an individual soul's choice?
Yes and no. You can help in simple ways. For example, you have a loved one who has chosen to take the medication and they come into your home. Your home is your sanctuary. And when you um, have a force field of protection around your home, which everyone should do, using any energy healing tool that you choose, you set the intention that as soon as someone who has taken the medication walks into your home, it helps heal their energetic body as soon as they walk through the threshold of your home.
Mm.
You can also help them by serving them healthy foods and natural remedies that will help detoxify the medication out of their body. Some say it's not possible, but it is possible to detoxify it out of the body.
Okay. And is there any advice that you can give us on these specific things that we can use to detoxify at this time?
There are many people who are offering their advice.
Mhm.
We say use your discernment.
Okay.
If there's a particular person that you resonate with and you feel drawn to their particular method, then that's the method we suggest that you use.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be overly complicated. It's really all about keeping your body as clean as possible. There's so many toxins on the earthly realm that humans have to be very careful and conscious of constantly cleansing their body,
And
using all tools, using food, using energy, using nature, and using energy healing tools.
so, as we bring foods into our homes, especially, we know that they've been sprayed with a lot of pesticides and things, and um, we should, of course, clean them. But is there a way to bring energy into that food to release those toxins before we ingest it?
Yes, just simply by placing your hands over the food, blessing the food, visualizing golden white light coming out of your hands and into the food in a very similar manner, the way yogis and Hare Krishners bless their food and infuse it with love and light as they're cooking and serving it. That is the most beautiful method of helping somebody indirectly with the food that you serve them.
Okay.
As you're preparing it, just think about all the the health qualities getting magnified as you're cooking it, and the love that you're putting into it as you're preparing it for your loved ones and serving it to them, almost in your own private way. Make a ritual about it, and that will greatly enhance not only your health but the health of your loved ones as well.
Okay. Very good. Thank you so much for that information.
You're welcome.
Let's take a look before we move on to her questions. Looking through the rest of the chakras, how do the chakras look? Is there anything else that's blocked within her body?
Her throat and her sacral chakra.
Okay, what's going on in the throat chakra?
Not speaking up when she should. She's keeping it private. She's afraid to go public with how she feels,
Mhm.
um, and to share knowledge that she may have because of the potential for negative repercussions.
Mhm. So, what would you suggest that she do to share that information a little bit more?
At this time, tread lightly.
Mhm.
It's getting ready to come to a head where the regime is going to actively seek out even the smallest person verbalizing their opinion. So we say tread lightly, be very cautious of who you share your knowledge and your light with, because not everybody who's willing to listen has a pure intention.
Okay. Would you just suggest her to share it with friends and loved ones or?
We suggest that she take a moment and she'll feel it in her body if
Mhm.
it's appropriate for her to share.
Okay, very good. And so, can we begin to release anything that's being held in that throat chakra today?
Yes.
Okay. And just expanding that energy out. What energy would we like to bring into that throat chakra for healing? What color?
The energy of truth.
Okay. And let's bring truth in. And does truth have a color that she'd like to use?
Light blue.
Okay. So, just bringing in a beautiful light blue energy and just swirling that through that throat chakra and releasing all of that density that she's holding on to in that space. that's holding her back from speaking her truth and for speaking up for what she believes, but allowing her to know when the right time to speak that truth is and when the right time to hold back. And as we look at that sacral chakra, what is she holding in that area?
All of her relationship disappointments from all the lifetimes she's ever experienced. That's a lot.
Hmm. Can we pull that out today?
Yes, part
Okay.
of her wants to hold on to it so that she's reminded. So we also need to work on helping her realize that she doesn't need to hold this in the physical body
Right.
for the soul to remember the experience.
Okay. Because as we shift into a higher dimension, does she need to hold on to any of those past life experiences anymore?
No, as we shift into the higher dimensions, and I say we because it's happening on all levels, not just on the earthly plane. It's a
Mhm.
collective conscious shift
Yes.
throughout the universe. Um, we humans will start to remember all of their lifetimes. It's not going to be overwhelming as most would imagine it would be, but it will be moments of recognition where it's almost like time will stand still for a moment as you have a vision of a past experience or a future experience. And you're going to keep those visions and memories with you. So the earth amnesia will soon disappear.
Mm. Okay. So we'll gain back access to all that we have stored within our soul.
That is the plan.
Okay, very good. So as we release those connections, what can we use to sort of flush out a lot of that energy for her as much as we can today?
A golden white light flooding her body.
Okay. So we're just going to call forward the power of Source, that beautiful golden white light directly from Source, bringing it through the top of the crown, the top of the head, and just allowing that to flood the entire system from head to toe, filling up all of the cells, activating any dormant strands of DNA that can be activated today, releasing any of that cell memory, any of the memory that the cells are holding on to that's not serving her greatest and highest good, flooding through each one of the chakras, all the way down into that sacral chakra where she's stored so much of that, those pains and sadnesses and traumas and difficult relationship experiences, and just letting go all of that energy that can be released, knowing that it served its purpose in those past life experiences to help her grow and to become who she is today. But we can let that energy go and just flooding that chakra with that beautiful golden white energy from Source. And then let's expand that energy not just through the body, but we want to push that energy out into the auric field for the purpose of healing any repairs or healing any rips or tears, for repairing any damage done to the auric field, and to make that nice and strong so that her energy is safe and protected. And how does that look?
It's looking good. There's still negative energy coming out of her sacral chakra. We can continue to work on it
Okay, very good.
through
Thank
the
you.
session. You're welcome. One more message for her.
Yes.
Um, she needs to reach out to Tyler in 19 days.
Okay. Is there anything specific
Um,
she needs to know?
he will have a shift within the next few weeks,
Okay.
and she has to handle him very delicately. So retreat and wait specifically 19 days, and on that day, um, she can reach out, and it will be received well.
Okay. So while we're focused in on Tyler, would it be appropriate to connect with him and see if there's any healing energy that we can provide him today?
Yes.
Okay. So, just allowing that connection to be made across space and time. And as we're connected in with Tyler, is there any specific areas that we can focus on within his physical body to help him with his own growth and evolution?
He needs to release the stored childhood trauma from his root and sacral chakras.
Okay. So let's just bring in that powerful source light again, just the energy directly from source, and just bringing that in through his crown chakra and asking the guides to direct that energy through each chakra, the third eye and the throat, and just releasing anything that can be released today to help him to release any of that negative energy, the low frequencies, the low vibrations, bringing that throughout the cells in his body, moving that down through his heart space, really encompassing that heart and expanding the energy out to release any of the blocks or walls that he may be holding. And then allowing that energy to flow down through the solar plexus and into the sacral and the roots, and just asking the guides to really blast that energy, releasing anything that can be released from our vantage point. And allowing that energy to continue to flow all throughout his body, helping him to shift into higher states of consciousness, letting go of any past life connections that can be released today, cutting any cords, sending healing back through any timelines that need to be healed. And as that source energy moves throughout his entire body, we ask that it be expanded out into his auric field as well, surrounding his entire body with this beautiful, powerful energy, strengthening that aura, repairing any fissures, cracks, or tears. And as the healing energy works its way through Tyler's physical and etheric bodies, is there anything else we can do to assist him today?
He needs to release the emotions of embarrassment and pride. Those are his two biggest issues that keeps getting in the way of his spiritual evolvement.
Embarrassment and pride.
Yes.
Is there a color or a vibrational word that we can use to bring into his body today to help transmute those energies?
The color orange and the word forgiveness. He has to forgive himself. And once he's able to forgive himself, only then will he realize that he's already been forgiven by everyone, not just Kim, but everyone else that he's hurt in his lifetime.
Beautiful. So just bringing in that beautiful orange, asking the guides to just shine that light down through his physical body, and bringing in the frequency of forgiveness and self-forgiveness, allowing those energies to begin to move through his physical body, his etheric bodies, releasing all of that pride, all of that embarrassment that he's been holding and carrying with him throughout this life and even through past life experiences. And just transforming and transmuting those lower frequencies with that beautiful light, helping him to know and to understand what he needs to release in this lifetime so that he can move forward and live his best life. And let me know how that's looking for him.
It's looking better.
Okay. Is there anything that Kimberly can do? Can she send this energy to him as well to help him with this process?
She has in the past, and um, we ask that she refrain from doing that at this time.
Okay. Any reason that she just to allow him to do it on his own or
She's done as much as she can.
okay.
It's time for him as a soul and in a human body to have that recognition and that awakening on his own time. He's slowly awakening, but he's fearful and he keeps falling back into old, comfortable, negative patterns.
Okay. Well, it's our intention that these healing energies and frequencies that we've sent today will help him to step more into his own empowerment. Thank you for allowing us to send that energy.
You're welcome.
Okay. Kimberly's grandfather died when she was around 11, and this was traumatic for her. It was very difficult. What does she need to know about that experience and to heal from it?
That early trauma triggered something in her. It's the strength that she has always had in this life. And as a soul in general, she's a very strong, she's a very strong, determined soul. We'd like to call her a galactic warrior
Mm,
because if there is trouble or strife, she is the first one to volunteer to go help. Which is another problem that she and Tyler have. He's tired of that and she keeps dragging him along. But she's the warrior. She likes to be right in the heart of all the chaos. So that event in her childhood is what triggered that aspect of her soul.
where does she get that galactic warriorness from? Is there a specific place in the universe?
We can't say a specific place. It's just a cumulative soul experience.
Okay, very good. And does her grandfather have a message he'd like to share with her today?
He's he's very proud of who she has grown up to be as an adult. And even though he wasn't physically there, he's seen it all. And he's her biggest cheerleader.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So she also experienced a difficult situation when her sister was held at gunpoint and she went in to diffuse the situation. What does she need to know about that experience?
Her and her sister and her ex-brother-in-law had a soul contract to experience that specific type of trauma together. It was something that they had never experienced as a family unit in previous incarnations. So they felt that it was necessary in this lifetime. It was because there's a very strong trust bond between the three of them as souls. They felt that they needed to do that for each other in this life. Sort of tick that box on the list of things to accomplish as a human.
So did they complete the experience in the way that they needed to complete it?
Yes,
Good.
yes, and as much as her sister still holds resentment against Dominic for what happened, Kim recognizes the higher aspects of that situation now. She didn't before, but she does now.
Okay, very good. Any trauma that she's holding within her body that needs to be released, or will that be released today?
That will be released today.
Okay, thank you. So she mentioned a few phobias that she has, one of heights, one of the ocean, and one of the dark. Are these past life experiences that carried over, or what does she need to know about those?
The fear of the dark is past life. We see her locked in a trapped in a box of some sort. So we assume this is from a previous incarnation where she had a negative experience um, as a human. The fear of heights is also past life, several past lives
Mm,
where she has had negative experiences um, with falling and hurting, injuring herself to the point of death. There's 3 specific lives where she has had an experience like that. And
fear of the ocean.
the ocean, she was in Atlantis. And
Mm,
when that civilization fell, she drowned
mm.
very traumatically and unexpectedly. And that is why she has a fear of the ocean.
Okay, so seeing that all of these are past life experiences, is there a way to just release those from her experience in this lifetime so that she doesn't have those fears anymore?
Yes, we can, all but the Atlantis life. Um, we are told anyone who has had an incarnation in Atlantis is not permitted at this time to release any connection to it because it's very important with what's happening in the world right now.
Okay, can you share any more information about that? What is the connection needed for?
There's a giant parallel between the fall of Atlantis and the fall of world civilization.
Mhm.
And if we, excuse me, if we remove all the awareness and inner knowing of those past incarnations, then people will forget. They will forget the mistakes that they made during their time in Atlantis, and this world as they know it will fall again, and but it will be on a global scale like what happened in Atlantis, and that's not in the highest good for the planet and all the souls that are incarnated at this time. The plan is to prevent that from happening.
So, is there still a potential for humanity as we know it right now to fall as Atlantis did?
It's a very small potential, but nothing is absolute. So there is always the potential for a timeline or an event to trigger that eventual downfall.
Looking at where we are right now in this experience, from your perspective, where would you say we're at on this timeline?
You are a quarter of the way through the final outcome. You still have a way to go,
Mm,
but it's not as long as everyone would think. Time on Earth feels so much longer because it doesn't really exist, but humans are so focused on time that it makes it seem to take a longer period of time,
mhm.
if that makes sense.
Yes, it does, because outside of this dimension, time doesn't exist in the same way. So, how do we shift our focus of time? What would you suggest that we could do to not be so focused on how long this is going to take?
Turn off the TV, and people are so focused on keeping up with the latest news and information, and it's disconnecting humans from other humans. You have to be vigilant in maintaining human contact and connection. That is what's going to um, determine the eventual outcome of this planet.
Thank you. I know we're going to come back to some questions with that in a few minutes.
Okay.
She feels like she's not very satisfied with her career or the place that she lives. And she, first of all, she wants to know what she needs to focus on to help with that happiness. Um, what career path should she take?
There's a two-part answer to that question.
Okay.
So for her to find happiness and content, um, we tell everybody this, it's obviously internal, not external.
Mhm.
She has to make major shifts in her physical body. Her physical body is a big hindrance for her in this life, part of which she chose to come here to experience. The other part of it is neglect, because uh, the unknown choice that she made to come here and experience these things has been very difficult and overwhelming for her. She doesn't feel, her soul doesn't feel at home in this body. So she has to work on feeling at home. When she feels at home in the body is when that will be her ultimate moment of ascension. So she has to work on healing her physical body, doing the things that we previously mentioned that will help her. For her, walking is a way that she not only connects with her higher self, but also strengthens her telepathic connection to Tyler. So the more she walks, the more that will help her reconnect and reestablish that connection with her higher self. And once she starts doing those things, then she will receive the information at the most appropriate time of where she needs to go and what she needs to be doing. We don't feel that her current career is the appropriate one for her. Um, she could make changes, um, and those changes would only be temporary because depending upon what happens on your planet, that that will have a huge impact on everyone in terms of their career choices.
Okay. So she wanted to know, should she stay in the art world and become a certified appraiser? Is that part of her path, or is that the small changes that you just mentioned?
Those would be the small changes. She could find satisfaction and financial, stability and success in that. But once the planet shifts, then jobs as you know it will be obsolete. So that job won't make sense to her anymore. If mankind stays on the path that they're supposed to be on, the ultimate shift, then you won't have jobs like you do now anymore. That will all change.
Okay. So if we were to look into the future after the shift, potential shift, or we're just going to say the shift because we know we're going to make it, what would she be doing, or what would be part of her path?
Sharing knowledge. So for her specifically, it's going to be sharing knowledge, that all the knowledge that she's accumulated over multiple lifetimes there's a reason why she chose to study history in this life, because it's her soul um, resonating with all the other times and places on this planet that she's experienced before. And it's just going to be sharing history in a different way. It's going to be sharing the real history, not the infiltrated stories you've been told for generations.
Mm-hmm.
She will receive this as an automatic download. She will write a book about it, and that is when she will be ready to share that knowledge in the future.
Very good. So, as far as being more satisfied in her career path, that all begins with becoming more satisfied within herself.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes.
All right. And so just any advice you can give her other than just taking care of the body, anything that she can focus on career wise to help with that a little bit.
Disconnect from her current jobs. Um, we're not saying don't take them as serious as she does. Obviously, it's her job and she's there to do a job and she needs to do it well. Um, Maybe be a little bit more lax in terms of letting her students get away with a little bit more than she normally would, because it's less stressful for her to follow those rigid rules.
Mm.
Just to focus on every day when she sits down to work, infusing the work that she does with that day with as much love and sending all of that love out to her students. It'll be like a ripple effect. She'll find more satisfaction in her temporary job, and her students will feel that, and it'll be a much more harmonious environment until she moves on to something else. And that something else could be the appraisers. Again, whatever she does now it's just it's temporary and transitional.
Okay, very good. So she also says that she's not crazy about where she's living, and she would like to be in a quiet place where she could focus on reestablishing her spiritual practice and connection. She said she daydreams of living in a little, like a fairy cottage, growing her own food and herbs. What does she need to know about that?
That would be ideal for her. When she had her um, the last time she was alone and she had her what she calls awakening. We love that word awakening. It's so funny to us. Um, it's
What
just
would you call it? What should we call it?
well, you're always awake.
Right.
So we find that word very strange because it's so we take it very literal. um, uh, Awareness.
Would that be expanding our consciousness maybe?
Yes, but even that seems a little so strict. We like to be more lighthearted with it because it is a beautiful, happy occasion when that moment, and it's always that one moment that the human experiences where they just get it. It's an inner knowing, and they don't
Maybe a
even realize.
remembering.
Yes, they don't even realize what's about to happen. So we get excited when we see that, the humans going through that because it's exciting for us, it's exciting for them. Um, so there's a better word. It's hard for us to use words because uh,
Right.
we don't where we are, so it's
You
hard.
speak in frequency and vibration.
Yes, it's hard
Yes.
to put that wondrous experience into words.
So now we're going to have to come up with a better word.
We will come up. We'll think. We will come back to that.
Wonderful. If you think of something, just let us know throughout the
Okay,
session.
we will.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
going back to what you were saying about where she wants to live.
She needs the peace and quiet, but most importantly, she needs to be surrounded with nature. That's been lacking in her life for many years now, living in cities and suburbs where there's there's no birds chirping, there's no forest to walk in, there's no ocean nearby. So she needs to find a place. We will help her find the right place at the right time.
Okay, very good. And she wants to know, she has a desire to possibly move back to Europe or to travel the world. Is that part of her upcoming experience?
That is what we intended for her life to be. Or we shouldn't say we intended it, that was what she chose for her life to be. Um, like circumstances have um, evolved on the planet um, faster than we had on our side anticipated it to. So what's happening right now wasn't supposed to happen for quite some time in the future. It just all got sped up. So she was supposed to be spending her life traveling the world and experiencing the cultures and eventually living somewhere else, multiple places actually.
Okay, very good. And may I ask what caused things to speed up so quickly to get us to where we are?
The regime, as we like to call them,
Mhm.
they're pretty smart. Nefarious creatures are very cunning, and they saw the potentiality of where Earth was going, and they wanted to stop it. It was meant to be a slower infiltration, so that the humans didn't even realize what was happening, and that it would just be uh, the way of life because it was slowly integrated. Um, we're not allowed to say anymore. I, I'm told I have to stop.
Okay, that's okay. Thank you for the information you shared. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay. So she said she feels like she may be numbing herself a little bit. She said she struggled with her weight off and on for years. Is this have anything to do with the grief that she's been holding on in the body, or is there another reason?
It's a little bit of the grief. It's a little bit of, I think, as we've previously mentioned, lack of self care. It's also some past life residual emotions that have been trapped in her body. And it's also being negatively affected by the negative collective conscious.
Okay, she feeling that energy of what's happening in the collective.
Yes, she feels it very keenly, and it frightens her, so she has to put a barrier up between her and that feeling, and that knowing of um, the nefarious plan.
Okay. Well, she said she feels like she's having a really difficult time given the state of the world, and a lot of fear and worry is surfacing about the way the events are playing out and humanity's safety and the future that the children will have. So, what does she need to know about that to help her not be so much in fear?
She needs to disconnect from the negative thought forms, and disconnect from people who constantly focus on the negative state of the world. You are like, when you dial into that negativity, you turn on a light bulb. And when you turn on that light bulb, you become visible to the regime's radar.
Mhm.
Um, they see you so much more, even if it's just a thought form. So you have to be very discerning right now. There's a very crucial period, um, we say within the next 2 years, that you have to be very cautious of your mindset, because this is a very important time on the planet right now. if you become invisible to them, you make your physical and energetic body very vulnerable.
Very good. So just disconnecting from all
Just
that's happening.
yes.
Okay. She wants to know, will her loved ones be with her on New Earth?
Some will. Some will be in the new, as you call it, new Earth. Some will pass on, and they will be in another dimension, but you will be able to freely connect with them. And some who have passed over may make the conscious decision to go between the dimensions. So they may come to your new Earth, as you guys like to call it, and then they may float in between here and your new Earth.
Is there a better term for the New Earth as well?
We just find human language entertaining.
we do as well. Our higher experience,
Yes,
our better world.
our better world.
Better world. Okay. So you're saying that because we'll be in a different, as we ascend, we'll be in a different physical form. So will it be easier for those in non-physical to, or they don't need to be in a physical form. They'll just be there in spirit.
They will have a different physical form than those of you who are still living out your earthly lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's, let's see, how can we explain this? It's not a new Earth. It's not a new planet. There's only one Earth, and there will always ever be one Earth. We talk in terms of dimensions. So the physical planet is going to elevate her consciousness to vibrate higher than the third dimensional consciousness she has been vibrating out since her inception. This we think you understand. And as the earth shifts her consciousness and the physical humans shift their consciousness, and everything physical on the earth elevates to a different dimension. When you move to the next dimension, your physical bodies will change. We know some people think that you're going to lose your physical body, and that's just not possible. Your physical body is just not going to evaporate out of existence. So you're still going to have your physical body, but yes, it's going to change. You hear about breatharians, and we're not going to say that everybody's going to be a breatharian, but your body's going to shift back to what it originally was supposed to be at the very beginning of time when Source created the human body. So you're going to go back to a pure state. You're going to only need to survive on beautiful like fruits and very few vegetables, very high vibrational foods that are as close to perfection as you can get on your planet, and you won't need much of it. So when that physical body elevates, then you are able to connect with the non-physical in a much more profound way, but you'll physically see those who have crossed over.
Okay.
It's very difficult for us to explain because
it's almost like a medium. Someone who has mediumship abilities is able to have more of that connection here in the physical. So it would be more like we're all holding that ability.
Yes, so to speak, but it's not going to be like you see in a TV show where, it's a see-through ghost. It's not like that. That you will be able to physically touch and embrace your loved ones. Um, they'll have a glow to them that the rest of the humans won't have. So you'll be able to tell who they are. They'll almost be um, have a golden shimmer to them to signify their um, their status as a soul and not a physical human.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's very exciting. So she wants to know, why did she choose to incarnate in this time period? Because she feels a little bit more connected to the past and drawn to other time periods.
We we find this very humorous as well because she keeps saying that to all her friends. Remind me not to come back to this time period. She likes the past because life was easier to a certain degree. Um, there's always been darkness on this planet, but she feels it so keenly that it's been very difficult for her recently. She didn't feel it when she was younger, in this particular life, but she likes her soul is very artistic, so she likes the beauty and the allure of the past, everything from the art and the music and the cultures and the fashion and everything about the past is just so much more attractive to her,
Mm.
which is why she chose to study that in this life. Any way she can connect with the past, she chooses to.
Mhm. And is that what she'll be bringing forward after the shift? Is more of that information, more of that historical information?
Yes, it is very much a part of her purpose to share knowledge and information in multiple subject areas, but specifically about history and art and culture because she has such a deep connection to it. And she's had multiple experiences in the past with various cultures. She's experienced a lot of different cultures and has been in the epicenter of several artistic movements, which is why she feels so drawn to them.
Beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So she wants to know about her dreams. She said she has very vivid dreams that feel very real, almost like she's living in an alternate or a parallel life. What can you tell her about that?
Yes, she is experiencing those parallel lives. We are all living multiple lives simultaneously. It's how do we say this? Um, every every human has the potential to experience a variety of timelines in your given life. And every choice you make will either put you on one path or the other. So the paths that you don't go down on this plane of awareness, you're walking down those paths in other dimensions and other realities because your soul still needs to have that experience. So everything's happening simultaneously.
So when we sleep, are we tuning into those other choice timelines?
Yes, that is the easiest way for a human to experience a parallel life is in the dream state. Because if it happened in your waking consciousness, you would probably think you were crazy.
Okay. Yes.
It does happen sometimes where you'll shift a timeline. She has experienced this a handful of times, and when she realizes she's having it, it frightens her, so she jumps herself out of it.
Mm.
But a handful of people, well, more than a handful, but select people can have those timeline shifts, and as you progress as a collective consciousness through your planet's evolution, eventually um, more and more people will have that ability. It's like I mentioned earlier, it's removing the veil, and and removing that earthly amnesia.
So, is there a way for us to intentionally shift onto higher timelines? Say we want to experience something that's a little bit better than what we're experiencing now. Um, does that timeline already exist? And is it a matter of shifting or aligning to that experience in order to bring it into the physical?
To a certain extent, you can do that. It depends on the circumstances
Mhm.
um, of that given timeline. So we know that she wanted to, and she has been thinking about a potential parallel life with her beloved Scott. And for the we use that example because he is no longer in physical human form. So it's not possible for her to say manifest that outcome in
Mhm.
the timeline that she's in. So that has to play out in another dimension because it's not physically possible in this particular level that she's in.
So she does have very vivid dreams of Scott. Can you tell her a little bit about what she's experiencing in her dreams with him?
Um, he knows that that's the easiest way to communicate with her because she took the news of his passing um, so hard. It was very hard for her to find that information out. And
Mhm.
he's very sorry she found out the way that she did. He couldn't change that. Um, Unfortunately, this was his choice. He chose to exit this world the way that he did. It was all for a specific contract with his family, his earthly family. So it's easier for him to communicate with her in the dream state.
So, what is the nature of their connection?
Soul family. Um, we can use the word soulmate a lot. I know we know humans like that word too. Um, it's two souls who have had multiple life experiences together, and you choose to incarnate together for many reasons, for soul growth and learning, and experiencing a wide array of emotions. So that's what they are for each other. They've done this many times before.
Okay. It seems her two strong connections, one with Scott and one with Tyler, are similar but different. One seems to be that soulmate energy that's a very strong connection, and then the other is sort of the push pull challenge, learning, growing relationship.
Yes.
Um, are those both soulmate connections, just with different needs that they need?
Yes. So um, both Scott and Tyler they are different souls.
Mhm.
Souls tend to congregate in groups, and they are all part of the same group.
Soul
And
group. Okay.
so
Yes.
they made the intention of coming to this planet together. Um, the It was planned out for Kim and Tyler to have the experience that they did. And the reason why Scott came into her life at the time that he did, it was all predetermined. He volunteered to be the soul to help her through that, and to also be um, that that emotional connection to keep reminding her of what's possible, because of the nature of their relationship, how they met, how exciting it was. He served as that reminder of how serendipitous love could be.
Mm, beautiful. Does he have a message for her? Anything that he'd like for her to know?
That the feelings were mutual, that he was sorry he was so disconnected the last time they spoke in communication, or the last time they were in communication, he just wasn't in a very good place in his life. And he was feeling self conscious about that, didn't want to show that to her, which is ironic because she was going through the same thing. Um, so, um, again, why those two souls were brought together, because they were experiencing similar things. And just that he's always there whenever she wants to communicate with him. He's there ready to communicate.
Beautiful. And can we just send some beautiful healing energy to Scott today? Just infusing his soul with a beautiful light energy, just connecting that energy from Kimberly's heart directly to his.
He's also saying thank you for there's something special she wanted to do for him when she found out he passed.
Mhm.
And he said thank you, even though he knows she may never see it. He's grateful that that she even thought about doing something like that for him.
Very good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So she said, given the current events, at times it feels like God has abandoned us and she feels very disconnected. What does she need to know about those thoughts and feelings?
It's hard for her because everything she experiences feeling. So when she feels disconnected, it's very concerning for her. Just to keep in mind that that is part of the dark agenda. So to detach um, from that thought. It's okay that you don't necessarily feel it right now. That feeling will come back as time goes on. It's sort of like learning how to walk or ride a bicycle. You have to practice it. You have to keep doing it. You may fall, but you get back up and you keep going. Um, she has to use the power of her mind to stay fully conscious that that connection with her creator has never been severed, and for her it never will be. So there's some fears there that something is inside her that um, that has separated her from her creator, and that's just not true. It's all negative thought forms. And yeah, there's some pesky little um you know entities around that feed on that sort of fear and negativity, so that doesn't happen, which is why it's imperative to keep your thoughts as clean and pure as possible.
Okay, so no negative attachments that are in her physical body,
Let
or,
us look.
or does she have any?
Let's look.
Okay.
There is, it looks like I it looks like a spider in her head.
This is like a parasite. And
Yes.
okay, where does the spider come from?
Negative thoughts, negative intentions, and malicious intent.
Okay, is that something that she put there or someone else put there?
Her negative thoughts, external malicious intent.
Where's that malicious intent coming from?
A student, a past student that she had many years ago, he tried to put a curse on her.
What was the curse?
It was something he believed in his culture, that would negatively affect her, and it has. She just wasn't aware of it,
Mhm.
that it went back that far.
Can you release that curse for her today?
Yes.
Okay. And will that remove that spider?
No, we need to work more on that.
Okay. Is that something that you can do for her to release that?
Yes.
Or is there anything that we need to take a deeper look at?
We need to look at that spider on her in her head.
Okay. What do we need to know about that in order to heal or release it?
Just have to pull the, like, release its grip. Have to release it.
What kind of tool could we use to release the grip that it has on her?
Uh, Something like a clamp that can grab it and pull it.
Okay. So let's just visualize this clamp, just a nice, strong metal clamp gripping around the spider, making sure that all of that spider is completely encompassed by this clamp. And as we clamp down, we're just going to gently release the spider from its hold that it has on Kimberly. And we're going to send that spider back to source and ask source to transmute that spider back into love and light. How does that look? Is that clamp doing its job?
It's almost released. That it feels stuck.
It's hanging
Uh,
on.
because she realized what student it was, and she's upset about it.
Okay. Well,
So
we'll do
she's
some healing.
angry.
We'll do
Okay.
some healing work on that. Let's get that spider
Okay.
out.
Okay.
We're just going to let that go, just releasing
Okay.
that for just a minute. Let's focus
Okay.
on the spider because we want that out of the body, not affecting your energetic field. So just clamping down and asking the guides to assist in just releasing each one of the spider's legs, just helping to pull those legs up and release them completely. Let me know what's happening.
Almost done.
Okay, very good.
It actually looks more like a tick and
Oh,
not a spider. So it looks
almost like it's
something.
sucking
Yeah.
your energy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not working.
It's not working. Okay.
Let's try something else.
Mm-hmm. What if we had, I was going to say a pair of giant tweezers, but clamp is as powerful as tweezers are.
Mm. Yeah, we think we need to use light.
Okay. What color light can we use?
We need the white light of source.
Okay. So just calling down the white light of source, bringing that beautiful golden white light. And we want to just infuse that tick with that beautiful, powerful light, knowing that that light is stronger than that parasitic being that's been attached in your head. And just allowing that energy to transmute and to transform that being. Spreading the energy out around that entire infected area. And tell me what's happening.
It's attached to the part of the brain that triggers fear.
Okay.
So that's why she's having all of these uncharacteristic fears in her life.
Mm,
It's been slowly festering, and the fears is feeding it.
okay.
The fears are feeding it.
So, from your vantage point, does the light, the source light, does it seem to be working in releasing it?
It's stubborn. It's very like burrowed in there. It's slowly coming.
Let's just continue to amplify that light, making it stronger, more powerful, making it brighter. Just completely allowing that tick to release from that area.
Okay, it just popped off.
Awesome. Just asking the guides to completely remove that and send it back to source with light and love. And now into that space, let's use that same energy because we want to make sure that that space where it was attached to is completely healed. So filtering that source light energy into that space and expanding it out, releasing that curse, releasing that connection, and completely healing that part of your brain. And how does that look now?
Much better.
Okay. So moving back to this person, want to make sure to release any anger. What can we do to bring forgiveness into this situation? What does she need to know from his perspective, this perspective of this student? What was causing him to want to retaliate?
He was frustrated. He found his classes to be very challenging, but he was being dishonest, and that was the issue. She caught him being dishonest in his coursework,
Mm.
and there was consequences, and he was angry about it. So she understands that he was frustrated with his studies. It was hard. English was not his first language. So she can have compassion for that. But his response to it was not appropriate.
Mm-mm.
And there were repercussions on his side for the
Okay.
malicious intent.
So when someone puts a curse or does something like that, is that
Yes.
like karma that comes back at them or?
Yes, it's like a vibration. You can't it's like if you slam your hand down on a surface, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel that vibrating back up into your arm, and that's what a malicious intent does. You may inflict that on someone, but that vibration comes back in you, and it may manifest in a different way, but um, you have to experience what you put out.
Okay, very good. So just going back to the last that we were talking about experiencing a stronger connection with source, can that connection just be strengthened today where she can feel more connected to that source energy that's already within her?
Yes.
Okay. So she has a question about Donald Trump and wants to know why he has been such a prominent figure in this earth reality that we're in.
We find this humorous too.
It's a good one.
She's not the only one that has asked this question,
Yes.
because it's not her life that she's inquiring about. We can't give her specifics and say he was this person or this figure from history. As much as we know
Right.
humanity wants to have this information, we're not permitted to share.
Yes.
However, we will say that yes, he has had some amazing, high profile lifetimes in the past. And we will say that if a thought pops into your head and that resonates, and you feel it in your body, that perhaps he was that figure, there's a pretty good chance that you're right and correct in your assumption. He is a very, very big soul with a very, very huge purpose in this life.
So obviously, there has been a lot of talk amongst humans of him coming back into this reality to play an even bigger role. Is that part of what you see for his path?
He is laying low right now. We're not allowed to have that much information
Mhm.
about the overall plan because it will expose it will expose too much to the dark forces that
Mhm.
are at play here, which is why I have to be cautious with what I share.
Okay.
Um, what can I say? There are people who are worried he's going to be harmed. There have been multiple attempts to harm him and to end his life. And we can say that that is not in his plan. He is meant to live a long, happy life, which he has done.
Mm.
He's coming close to the end of his life. Um, it's not for some time, but he has to fulfill his purpose first. And once he fulfills his purpose, then he will choose to leave. It will be on his terms,
Very good.
and he's not yet. Um, he hasn't finished what he came here to do, and knowing the soul, and who the soul is on the grander scale, um, he's not going to stop until he does what he came here to do.
It's
This is his
his,
omega life,
what does that mean?
his omega, his ultimate. This is most likely going to be his final incarnation. If he comes here and accomplishes what he set out to do, he doesn't have to. He's out of the cycle of reincarnation, so he chose to come here. He willingly came to fill this purpose,
Mhm.
and if he fulfills that, then he will go back to source and he will never incarnate again.
Very good. So, so we know he is a being, or we feel like he is a being that holds great light within his soul. Would
Yes.
you agree with that?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
And he has a big role to play at this time.
Yes.
Okay. And we have some other figures that are in prominent positions. And would you say that those figures also have a soul that's here to play a role? Or would you say that they might be something a little different?
Both. So there are people, there are souls who came here to fulfill a purpose.
Mhm.
And as much as we would like to give you names
Mhm.
for safety reasons, for the beings who are doing this session right now, to keep Kim and Heather safe, we won't give names.
Yes.
Again, um, if you have a strong assumption, we would like to say that you are most likely accurate in your assumption as to who those souls are that came here to fulfill a less than desirable role. There are the other half, it's a little more than half, um, are not human,
Mhm.
and they came here with a very distinctive purpose, and that was to infiltrate the planet. and slowly take over. They wanted it to be a very slow, gradual um, infestation. And unfortunately, um, humanity, as you like to say it, awakened um, to their intentions. And the more they try to push their intentions, the more people are going to see what's really happening. And for humans, it's a slow process. On our side, it's already happened. We see the outcome. It's fast for us, but unfortunately, humans are going to have to go through this a little bit longer. The harder they push, um, and the more um, extreme they get with their negative plan, the more people are going to wake up and realize what's happening. And it's going to be difficult for those people who realize this um, at the height of the dark war, as we would refer to it as.
So, as light workers and star seeds, what can we do to help those people? Is it more important for us to simply hold space and send love? Or should we be trying to get people to see what's going on? Can we even do that?
You will know when the soul is ready to receive. Um, I, for example, Kim's sister has been resistant to listen to anything. Um, and it wasn't until very recently did she finally let her guard down a little bit and started and was a little bit willing to have a conversation without an argument, without being judgmental. So that was a huge breakthrough on her part. And that's going to happen with everyone. So you will
Mm,
have loved ones who are really, really resistant for a while. And then slowly there will be a little bit of a window. And you may say something and they receive it. Instead of rejecting it. And
mm,
those little like light balls that you're throwing at them, we see them as little light balls. Um, Once they penetrate their being enough, then it helps crack that hard exterior shell that they have, because it's really a protection. They're so
mhm,
afraid that they've put up this fortress around them, so they're essentially blocking themselves from the light. um,
mhm.
but it is through their loved ones just holding steady, and you being discerning and knowing what to say and when to say it. It's you definitely need to think before speaking and acting. It's very important at this time right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
She said she's confused about, and I don't want to use New Earth, this new experience that we're hoping to get to sometime soon. And we hear a lot of people say that it's going to be just a shift in consciousness, a geopolitical change, even a total evacuation. I've heard other practitioner sessions where they talk about spaceships coming down and getting the people who are not able to make the shift. From your perspective, can you explain what's actually happening, what will happen, what may happen?
So it's all of those things and none of those things at the same time.
Okay.
So it is, yes, it is a shift in consciousness. Yes, it is a geopolitical, as you would call it, a shift. Um, it those who you are going to experience what your beliefs are. But no, it's not going to be like a movie where the alien invasion is coming and to rescue you. um, those people who have that belief are abdicating their responsibility. They are having a very difficult time subconsciously with what's happening. So it's
Mhm.
easier for them to have this false belief that they're just going to be rescued and taken off this planet while
Mhm.
Mother Earth is left here to, disintegrate on her own with, the the chosen few left behind. It's
Right.
absolutely not going to be that way. No one is physically leaving this planet. You chose to come here. You have a life to live. And
Mhm.
only when your contract is up for you to exit this physical planet will that happen. But we're sorry to disappoint. It will not happen on a spaceship.
I'm sort of hoping that it won't. That seemed a little aggressive to me, but it
Yes.
it is hard to decipher through all of the
Yes.
information, and it does come through some sessions. So, if it comes through a person's session, is that because of a belief system? Is that filtering through their beliefs that they're receiving that?
That's part of it. We do feel that a lot of people have that belief, and it's very difficult to determine in sessions like these when the conscious mind is coming through and when the soul is allowing us to speak through the soul. And it's a push pull that we
Mm,
often deal with in sessions like these. Um, we will say that the abdication of responsibility is the biggest thing that we are seeing. These people who want to be rescued need to rescue themselves.
mhm.
So they're not doing any service to humanity by relinquishing your responsibility and your, how do we want to say this, your soul's ability to manifest the highest possible outcome for your planet. That's the intention.
Mhm.
It's happened. It's already played out in our dimension, in our reality. But the planet and those of you who are physically there need to experience certain things. And unfortunately, there's no getting around that.
Okay.
Does that make
It
sense?
does. So you mentioned a couple of times that from your vantage point, you've already seen where we end up. So can you give us a little information on that? What do you see? What is this experience really going to be like? We hear it's going to be better than anything we can imagine, yet it's hard right now to imagine much.
What we will say is that, and most of you know this, I'm sure, that it's going to look really bad for a while.
Mhm.
And we're sorry to disappoint. We know a lot of people want to hear it, that it's going to be gone tomorrow. Unfortunately, that's not the case. But some things will shift really quickly. So, for example, government structures will just come crashing down.
Mm.
Um, and it's going to happen really fast because when you hold on to something so tightly, and that's what the regime is doing. They're holding on so tight that their hands are going to get weak and they're going to have to let go at some point. And that's when it all comes crumbling down. And when that happens on a global scale, that is when um, that's when the real awakening will happen. I'm sorry, I like to play.
I didn't mind at all. I'm never going to use that word again. I'm going to have to figure out. I'm still waiting on you to give me a better word.
We just like to tease.
That's
We
okay.
we will come up with something better.
We need a little bit of teasing, right? With all this, we need a little bit of
Yes,
laughter in our life.
most definitely.
Okay. So she wanted to see if you could just show her as we move through this shift, as we hopefully anchor eventually into a fifth dimensional consciousness. What will life be like? What can you share with her about how our lives will transform?
Some aspects of your reality will feel like you're regressing and moving into the past, but that's not a bad thing. There are many aspects of the past that are more desirable than the present. For example, your food won't be poisoned anymore.
Mm.
All the food that you consume, and you won't need to consume much, because it will be so pure and so nourishing for the body that only a little bit will, and we mean a little in terms of the way humans eat right now.
Mhm.
So food purity is going to be what it originally was like when this planet was at her inception. Uh, Life will be peaceful. Um, that that cloud of negativity that's just hanging over the planet right now, that will be gone. And once all that negativity is removed, it's hard for the human mind to comprehend what that means, because it's in your DNA. Generation after generation has had um, this cloud of negativity for thousands and thousands of years. It's been going on. So it's really hard for us to explain and show humans what it's going to be like, because the human mind has yet to experience paradise.
Mhm.
Um, and we use that term with great hesitation, because um, we don't want people to think that life is going to be like a dream. You're still going to have responsibilities. A world still needs to function with some sort of governance, but it's not going to be the way it has been. It's going to go back to that Arthurian round table, so to speak. We know some channels have used that reference, and
Mhm.
we hold that to be the most truthful account of what is to come. So instead of politicians, you're going to have a variety of people from all walks of life sitting around this round table, contributing to the greater good of humanity.
That sounds amazing.
Yes, it will be. It's hard for humans to comprehend right now, but when it happens, you'll be able to understand it more fully.
Mhm.
But government is a huge aspect of this, and it needs to go. That was never the original intent for this planet, to be governed by anything other than the creator.
So is that happening now? Is the government structure beginning to break down, or is that still to come?
We use the analogy like an earthquake. So it's starting to rumble right now. The actual quake hasn't hit yet. And when that quake hits, that's when everything will come crumbling down.
Okay.
So it's shaky right now.
Mhm. Okay. So like you said, we still have a bit to go.
We still have a bit to go, but it's not nearly as long as most people think.
Okay.
If all continues on the same path, this should happen within the next 2 years.
Okay.
The full transformation of the planet. So that's a
Okay.
lot to happen in an earthly 2 years.
All right. Anything else we need to know about the shift, the changes, what we're experiencing?
Keep your thoughts pure. Flood your body with purity, mind, body, and spirit. It's very important. We understand you have to tap in to the negativity to know what's going on, and we understand that that's important. Um, Limit your time doing that, because the more exposure you have to that, the harder it is for the soul. And that's what Kim has been experiencing. She's exposed herself too much to that because she just wants to know.
Mhm.
That's okay, but keep it limited. You have to pull back. And after you do that, absolutely use whatever energy healing techniques that you are comfortable with, just to sort of heal and seal your aura and your body from anything that could be picked up from that exposure.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, just the final thing that I think we wanted to go over was she wanted to know if we could connect with some of her loved ones, particularly her grandparents, and see if is there a message that her grandparents have for her, anything they'd like to share.
She can see them now,
Mm,
and they look just like they did when she was a child, so that's comforting for her.
mm,
They're very happy where they are. They have not reincarnated yet, and they have no intention of doing so anytime soon. They love watching her nephew, their grandson. They love watching him grow, and they're sad they couldn't be here physically for him. And grandfather is saying thank you for naming him after him.
mm.
Even though it's not his first name, he's still happy. And he wants me to give him um, his ring. So when Max is old enough, he wants him to have his ring,
Mm.
which of course I will do.
Beautiful. And she also wanted to connect with her cousin Joe. Could we connect with him today? See if he has any messages. One of the things that she wanted to share was thank you for the inheritance that she received and wanted him to know that.
Easier.
Mm.
And he's just saying that where he is, none of that matters, but he's happy to have been able to help in any way that he did, and that he's very happy where he is.
And he passed last year of what is believed to be the virus. She was wondering, could she have that validated? Can he let her know how he passed?
No, it was not what they believe to be the virus, the contagion.
Mm-hmm.
He had other health issues that had similar symptoms that went overlooked. And so, because the medical facility that he was in was ordered to not treat patients with symptoms of the pathogen, just to let them die, they just ignored him and they didn't treat him at all. So he could, medically, they could have prevented his death, but spiritually, it was his time to go. He chose that. He knew he was going to go through that. It was just something that that's what he signed up for in this incarnation.
And I know this is really hard for a lot of people when you look and you see people are dying and what's happening. It's easy to get caught up in the anger of that. But from a soul's perspective, are all the souls that are experiencing, whether they're experiencing getting sick or passing, is that always from a soul's is that always a soul's choice?
Yes, you choose how you come into this life and you choose how you exit this life.
Okay, so it's never just random.
It's never random. Even an accident is not an accident. That soul chose to, for example, leave this world in a car accident or some other tragic illness. That is what their soul chose to experience.
And so those that are choosing to leave this earthly incarnation through this virus that we have right now, how can we look at it in a way of assisting as opposed to the opposite way in a negative way? How is it helping us to ascend or to
It's
become more
hard.
conscious?
It's hard for those family members left behind because
Mm-hmm.
there's the sadness and the grief and the anger of your loved one not being taken care of to the best of someone's ability, but take comfort in knowing that that soul chose this. Um, we hesitate to use the word sacrifice because it's never a sacrifice. When you come into this world and you have to leave this world. You're not here infinitely. So take comfort in knowing that your loved one chose to leave for the greater, at this point in time, for the greater good. Because if these souls did not leave in the manner that they were leaving, the dark plan never would have become uncovered.
Mm.
So they are part of um, the larger intention. So they're truly, what's the best word for this? Um, they're they're bright lights, very strong souls who would come in, knowing that they were part of this greater plan for humanity.
So I know one of the areas that I've gotten caught up in myself that I'm working on is, people who want to get the medication versus people who are not wanting to. And there are some or many who are getting it and they're having a lot of adverse reactions and even deaths that are not being reported. So, is this also a soul's choice to experience that side of it as well? And is that helping this awakening?
Yes, yes, they've chosen that, and that's part of where, if you've chosen to take the medication,
Mm-hmm.
you have a choice. You can consciously remove it from your body, or you can consciously choose to keep it in your body and go down that path. It's one path or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's actually, if you've taken the medication.
Mm-hmm. Are there any final messages that you'd like to share with Kimberly today?
She's closer to getting back what she feels she's lost, her connection to source, just feeling, um, and experiencing, higher levels of consciousness. It's so much closer than she thinks. So just to be patient, it will all happen. Um, we've given her time frames in the past, so we hesitate to do that again. Um, but we will say that springtime will be a very beautiful rebirth for her. And perhaps instead of using the term awakening, we like the word rebirth. It's a
Okay.
rebirth of humanity. It's a rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to get away from the word humanity. It's mankind. We
Hmm.
prefer the word mankind, or womankind, whichever you choose. Um, it has a higher vibration. Um, yes.
Very good. Okay. Do you feel, let's take a look really quickly and just make sure how does her physical body look? Everything that we've looked at today? Anything else that we need to take a look at before we end the session?
Everything looks good for now.
Okay. Very good. And may I ask who we were speaking with today that's been bringing forward this amazing information?
So you have been speaking to several of us. We know that most practitioners like yourself refer to us as a collective consciousness, and that
Mhm.
is true.
Okay.
Sometimes it is the person's guides. Sometimes it is uh, members of their soul group. Sometimes it's from another time and place and dimension. So for this particular session, you were speaking with her guides mostly, and some beings from her home planet. And again, we use the term home planet simply as a explanation of the first place she chose to have an incarnation after leaving the source, which was Spica. So there are a few of us on Spica that have been speaking to you today.
Beautiful. And where would we even be able to know or understand where Spica would be located in our universe?
If you look at a map of the constellations, you can find it on the map.
Okay.
It's a star.
It's a star.
It's a star.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for all of the information that's come through. I appreciate it so much.
You're welcome.
Are we complete today?
We feel you have a question, one more question for yourself that you want to ask, and you may do so if you'd like to.
Oh, me.
Yes. Do you have anything that you would like to ask?
Yes, I do actually. So yesterday I experienced a weird thing with my vision that started as I was playing video games with my son. And I saw a lot of colors and a lot of movement in my eye. It was very interesting. It almost looked like watching a computer flash. And then after that, it brought on a very strong migraine headache. I was wondering if that was a connection to Kimberly or if that was something different I was experiencing.
You had two different experiences. So yes, the headache symptom was just you tapping into the energies of the session that you were about to have. But the colors and the flashes that you were seeing, it's for the best way for us to explain it would be to use a very cliche saying and say you were experiencing a crack in the matrix. Um, that happens. It's very rare when a human can have those experiences, and if you choose to, you can hone that skill over the course of your life, and eventually you can turn it on and turn it off as you'd like to. But instead of seeing a human standing in front of you, you will see their sacred geometric symbol. So you will start to evolve your vision in terms of being able to see sacred geometry all around you, because as you well know, this is all an illusion.
So when you say a crack in the matrix, what what was I actually experiencing?
The veil.
Okay.
The veil was moved for you. You're functioning at a very high energetic level for being in a human form. And it's hard for humans sometimes to tap into those skills because they're unfamiliar to the human body. But you definitely have the ability to see sacred geometry all over you, almost as a second sight, if you choose to hone that skill.
And would you have any suggestions or recommendations to help me hone that skill?
Sitting in meditation and doing mantra meditation with and envisioning the coordinating sacred geometric symbol and putting your hands in the mudra position simultaneously.
Okay. I do experience a light language, and my hands go into mudras. At least it feels that way. I'm not really sure what I'm doing. Is that sort of what you mean?
Yes, yes. If
Okay.
you're intentional with that practice
Mhm.
over time, and for you, it won't take very long to do that. Just know that it may be alarming at first when it happens, but you're okay. You don't have anything wrong with your actual vision.
Mm.
This is just you taking yourself to another level of spiritual evolvement.
Is there a reason that it happened in the middle of playing games? Because I wasn't doing anything that would bring that on.
Your conscious mind wasn't getting in the way.
Oh, that makes
So when
sense.
Yes, so it's just a simple thing as there's no correlation between the video game and you having that experience. It
Okay.
was just, when you're doing something like that, our conscious mind is out of the way.
And it made me feel a little bit nauseated, a little bit dizzy. Is
Mm.
that just from seeing into the
Yes, it's a lot of energy. So just continue doing what you're doing in terms of hydrating and protecting your energetic body, all those tools that you already have. We suggest if you have experienced any discomfort with it to just go slowly. We wouldn't suggest to do it as a daily practice, but start out sporadically, and as you enhance your skills, it will slowly just naturally come to you. You won't even have to try anymore.
Oh, thank you so much for that. I
You're
appreciate that
welcome.
information.
You're
So
welcome.
the migraine, I keep saying it, migraines. Um, I've heard other practitioners say that before a session with a client, especially if they are experiencing something, that they will experience that as well the day before. So I felt like that's what was happening. What's the purpose of that?
You have both had a similar past life experience. So, for example, Kim came into the session today with multiple bodily things she was experiencing, but that was the one particular thing you felt was the migraine. It's
Mhm.
probably because you've also experienced a past life head trauma.
Ah, I think I
So
have. I think I've seen that one
it's
too.
the soul recognizing a
Okay.
familiar experience.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. We knew you had a question.
Well, I was sitting, I think I have a million questions, but I don't, we were already 2 hours into this probably. So I'll end it there and say thank you so much. And I'm going to begin to bring
Thank
Kim
you.
back.
It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure for me as well. So we're going to begin to bring your light body back to your physical body now.